Last week, we watched the world finally notice Africa. We watched a Catalan cartographer draw Mansa Musa's face on the most important map of the medieval world. We watched Europe discover what Africa already knew, that the Mali Empire was not a blank space on anyone's map. It was the center of the world. Today, we enter the final chapter of Mansa Musa's story, and it is perhaps the most human chapter of all, because for all his gold, for all his conquests, for all his mosques and universities and libraries, Mansa Musa was still just a man who grew old, a man who felt the weight of years on his shoulders, a man whose greatest wish in the final years of his life was not more gold, not more territory, not more power, simply to go back to Mecca, to pray. By the mid-1330s, Mansa Musa was in his 50s, old by the standards of the 14th century, but still governing, still administering, still the most powerful man in West Africa. His empire continued to function with the precision he had built into it over decades. The trade routes were secure, the universities were full, the mosques called the faithful to prayer 5 times a day. The gold still flowed from the mines of Bambouk and Bure. The salt caravans still crossed the Sahara. Everything Mansa Musa had built was still working, still producing, still growing, still the greatest civilization on earth. And yet, in the quiet moments, in the early hours before the morning prayer, when the palace was silent and the trade routes were still, Mansa Musa thought of Mecca. He had been there once. He had stood at the Kaaba in simple white robes, indistinguishable from anyone else in that ocean of pilgrims. He had felt something there that all the gold in his treasury could never replicate. Peace, pure, absolute peace. And he wanted to feel it again. He told his advisors of his plan. He would abdicate the throne. He would hand power to his son, Magan I, and step away from the empire he had spent his life building. And he would return to Mecca to spend his final years in prayer and contemplation at the holiest site in the Islamic world. His advisors listened. They understood. They respected his wish. But history, as it so often does, had other plans. Mansa Musa died around 1337. The exact date is uncertain. The exact cause is unrecorded. But the fact of it is beyond dispute. The greatest ruler Africa had ever produced died before he could make his final journey to the city he loved most. He was approximately 57 years old, and with his passing, something irreplaceable left the world. His son, Magan I, inherited the throne. But Magan was not his father. Few men in history could have been. The empire, so vast, so complex, so dependent on the extraordinary ability of the man who had built it, began to show the first signs of strain. The borders, held by Mansa Musa's military genius, began to be tested by neighboring kingdoms. The trade routes, secured by his authority, became slightly less safe. The scholars and students of Timbuktu continued their work, but the driving force behind everything, the vision, the generosity, the faith, the ambition, was gone. It would take decades for the Mali Empire to fall. It would not happen quickly. It would not happen dramatically. It would happen slowly, the way great things always end, gradually, quietly, inevitably. But what Mansa Musa left behind could never be destroyed. The Jingwarabber Mosque still stands in Timbuktu today, 700 years later. The same mud brick walls, the same pyramid minaret, the same wooden beams protruding from the structure just as al-Sahili designed them, still in use, still calling the faithful to prayer every single day. The manuscripts of the Great Library, hundreds of thousands of them, are still being studied, preserved, and protected by Malian scholars and international historians. The memory of Mansa Musa endures in the oral traditions of West Africa, in the history books of universities around the world, in the admiration of everyone who ever hears his story for the first time and simply cannot believe that nobody ever told them about this man before. Because Mansa Musa did not just build an empire, he built a legacy. And the difference between an empire and a legacy is time. Empires fall, legacies last forever. Next week, we put Mansa Musa's wealth into modern context. Just how rich was the richest man who ever lived? We compare his fortune to every billionaire alive today. And the result will genuinely shock you. Subscribe to the African Codex. Only 3 episodes remain in the complete Mansa Musa series. Do not miss a single one.